What do you believe right now that's making you feel this way? And when you analyse it, you realise how irrational you can be at times.
Every single one of our major customers and minor customers all shut their doors overnight.
It's not sales per se, but the outcome of it is, because people get to know you, they get to see you.
But, you know, what's the culture like at the business? What do we stand for, the values?
I've got to tick that box on my personal development program I don't really want to be here.
Scaling up a business isn't easy. If it were, we wouldn't have less than 4% of businesses scaling beyond 10 employees or around £1 million turnover level, and less than 1% beyond 50 employees. But the contribution that we make as owner-managers to our economies is immense and should never be underestimated. Yet it can be a tough gig for all of us at times, and only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And through ScaleUp Radio, we aim to help make things a little easier. We interview guests who have been where you are now and may have faced some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked for them, as well as what didn't. And we've also combined many of the lessons from these interviews, and also through working with hundreds of owner managers over the last 10 years or so, into a practical scale-up handbook that we've called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System, or ESUS. And it's for owner managers like you and me as we navigate our own scale-up journey. And you can order a copy through your favourite online book retailer, or by going to all the W's, esusgroup.co.uk, www.esusgroup.co.uk.
Hello, I'm Granger Forson, www.bizsmart-gloucestershire.co.uk, or find me on LinkedIn. This time on ScaleUp Radio, I speak with Phil Kiernan, the owner of the award-winning Farmer Boys Inn and 3 other businesses. Phil is a serial entrepreneur, starting with the Farmer Boys Inn in 2000 and built it to an award-winning standard. In 2006, he then created Mad About Pies to make his team's famous pies and sell them to everyone. He then built a property business and has now created a property development business. Phil is passionate about learning. When he starts something, he finds the best coaches to learn from and guide him. He then takes it on and develops his own ways. We cover so much ground, so get your pencils ready, including listen to your customers and then adapt. Self-education all the time is the key, and learn from the best. Train your people not just to do their jobs, but be business people too. Outsource everything to free up your time. And marketing is the #1 skill for a business owner, so don't abdicate responsibility for it. What is so great about this conversation is that Phil gives so much advice and food for thought from his past and ongoing experience. It's his energy and enthusiasm for his businesses to grow and succeed that drives him to find the right people for him to employ. I know you'll get so much from this episode, and you may even need to listen to it more than once. So let's go over and listen to Phil. Hello, Phil Kiernan, and welcome to ScaleUp Radio. Please introduce yourself and your businesses.
Hello, Granger. My name is Phil Kiernan. I am the owner of the Farmer's Boy Inn in Longhope. I'm also the owner of madaboutpies.co.uk. And I'm also the director and the CEO of Kiernan's Properties Limited, with a mixture portfolio of HMOs, House of Multiple Occupancy, single-lets and all that kind of stuff. And also I'm a developer with HK Developers Longhope Limited too, which basically build small developments around the Gloucestershire area.
Wow, amazing. 4 businesses. I've not had that before on the on ScaleUp Radio myself before. So, okay, let's explore that a little bit. Where did you start? Which one did you start with?
So the Farmer's Boy Inn. So I have been a publican since 1996. I bought my first free house, but I've been in the trade since 1985. I'm originally from Dublin. And in Dublin, you have to serve an apprenticeship just to become a barman. So I did that, came to the UK in 89, and then I was managing pubs and kind of restaurants. When I say pubs, country inns and stuff like that. And then what happened is that I came to the Gloucestershire area to run a pub from there, I ended up buying the Farmer's Boy on the 18th of September 2000. It was my second free house that I bought, and that's where it was. So the Farmer's Boy Inn has given me everything. Everything is developed from there. So when I say I'm a builder, everything's kind of with the help of my business coaches throughout my year. Basically, what I've done is I've kind of progressed in the journey of an entrepreneur.
Wow.
That's what I did.
Excellent. Well, this is going to be a great conversation in terms of that. So next you got on your list, Mad About Pies. So tell us about that business.
Yeah, Mad About Pies was, this was before kind of everyone bought everything online. And we came up with Mad About Pies was, I can't remember, early 2000s, 2006 upwards. And what happened is that with the help of a business coach called Nigel Botterall, who owns the Entrepreneur Circle, and I'm still very good friends with Nigel. He's like the Richard Branson of marketing. So what we did, we set up this business, Mad About Pies, had a factory in the Forest of Dean, and in the first year of this is how you don't scale a business, by the way. This is how you don't scale a business. So in the first year, every single account I went to, I got, but these accounts weren't like normal accounts. These accounts were like, we got Crystal Palace Football Club, we got Worcester Warriors, we got Asda, Co-op, Ocado in Watford, and I turned Tesco down, and Costco, we got Costco as well as pubs and restaurants. Now, I did this within, I'd say, 12 months.
Okay.
And if any young entrepreneur that's out there, do not do what I did. Because basically what it is, I scaled it because they want different things. So as they want different things to Tesco and different supermarkets want different things, even down to the loading bay when you deliver these things. Crystal Palace was a great experience, football club. And yeah, it was interesting. But I ended up, the problem is I never made any money there because I scaled it so quickly. And that was the problem. So that's the reason why you don't scale so quickly, because before you know it, you run out of cash. And so you have to scale it. You kind of don't get too excited. So in my early days, this was my first business outside of being a publican. And the Farmer's Boy Inn is famous for pies. So this is where it led. And people kept saying to me, Phil, why don't you sell the pies? And I went, well, I never thought about it. And it just kind of sparked. And I read a book called The E-Myth Revisited, one of the books that changed my life. And it's about putting systems in business. And I basically came up with the name from that book, madaboutpies.co.uk, which is what we've done. We scale right back now. We do pubs and restaurants, and you can buy online. So that's Mad About Pies. So, yeah.
And how big is Mad About Pies now in terms of employees?
It's really what we tried to do in the end is because I got too busy. I ended up hating it because the problem I had with Mad About Pies is that I designed this box packaging for 6 months. It took me 6 months to design this box. And then the big boys come in, and within a week, they had the same box, similar box right beside me in the supermarket.
Right.
I have to give a lot away in supermarkets as well. And we found that the product was getting devalued. So, for example, lots of things happen in supermarkets where it's 2 for, say, £5 or 2 for £10. And that cost goes to the basically not the retailer, it comes to the producer and me. So I had to pay the cost. And we found it was devaluing the product. So I pulled them all out of supermarkets. That's what I did. But now it's kind of, we do pubs and restaurants, and we scale it right back. And it's kind of just something there. If people love the Farmer's Boy Inn and they want to buy the pies, and because we have 8 rooms here and they come from all over the world, to be fair, they can buy them online, basically, in the UK, except for Northern Ireland. We can't export to Northern Ireland. There you go. Okay. So it's Mad About Pies.
So something that grew rapidly, and you've scaled it back to be something profitable and nice to manage and handle.
Part of the kitchen name, Mad About Pies has won 45 British Pie Awards to date.
Wow, well done.
Well, it's my chef, to be fair. He's a master pie. And the thing was, we started off with, when we bought the Farmer's Boy Inn, it was the 2-in-1 pie, which is half cauliflower cheese, half steak and Guinness, and a steak and Guinness pie. That was it. And now we've got, I don't know how many pies, 40 pies. But I mean, the world changes. And obviously, the first thing that came in was a vegetarian. From the vegetarian, then we had vegan pies. From vegan pies as well, we had gluten-free. So we've kind of listened to what our customer has said. And what we've done is we can't be all things to everyone. I always say that to people. But we've listened to the main things. We've asked questions. What do you want? And then we try and put it together. It's that simple. Really, that's what we do.
Brilliant. Wow. Really good. Some thoughts in terms of scaling up speed and not going too manic in the early days in terms of that, and listening to your customers and changing as you go along. So next was on the list was your property business. Was that?
Yeah. So Kiernan's Properties was I always was interested in property. And what I did is that I have triplets, believe it or not. I have they're 7 at the end of the month. I'm a busy man. So basically what happened was that I went to buy 3 houses for them so they'd have something. But it was an emotional buy. Well, the worst 3 houses I ever bought, to be honest. And I needed to kind of learn, but I was always interested in property. So I met a guy called Simon Zuski, who owns Property Investors Network. And they're based all around the UK. And if I kind of do anything, I need to know about it. I need to know. I try and educate myself about it. Regarding risk averse, I would be probably on a scale to 1 to 10. I would be probably 7. So that's the sort of person I am. But if I'm going to do something, I need to know about it. So I'm a great believer of education, self-education. So Simon Zuski became my 3rd business coach. I always have business coaches. I still have one today because no one holds me accountable, and it can be a lonely old job being at the top. But if you don't have that kick in the butt, you need to. I always think people about their businesses regarding the numbers. I've had business coaches for numbers, as in average customer spend at the Farmers Boy Inn. I'm a bit like Billy Connolly, by the way. I'll go off, but I'll come back. Don't worry. I'll come back. So the average customer spend was a guy that had Jim Sinclair, and he was really on the numbers. And the first thing when he came to the Farmers Boy Inn, he says, "What's your average customer spend?" And I went, "I haven't got a clue." And he went, "Well, how do you know what?" He says, "You could go bang for 10 grand, but you wouldn't know, and you wouldn't even see it." So he was really important to me, but I keep them for as long as I want, and then I get rid. So he comes along. It's a bit like a journey, and he's there to help me. And once he's done, I get rid. So with Simon Zuski, he taught me about options. And people probably won't know what options are regarding houses, but they think the way you go and buy houses, you put your money down, the mortgage company come along, you borrow the rest, and away you go. Well, he taught me all about options, no money down deals. So this is probably be alien for some people, some listeners, but delayed completions, purchase lease options, rent to rents, all these kind of options that you can have buying property. I purchased a property actually only a couple of months ago in Cheltenham. It's a HMO, so a house of multiple occupancy. This is in Kiernan's Properties Limited. And I bought it for £1 initially. And what it is, it's a purchase lease option. So I leased the property for 3 years. And so the vendor has no mortgage. He comes in and I agree a price on the 3 years. So say it's 200 grand, for example, and I agreed that 3 years ago. And then I add value to that house where I get a kitchen or I get a bathroom, stuff like that. And then I take over the property. Now, if one of the rooms is void, it's a HMO, so there's 5 rooms in here, I still have to pay the landlord. But what you're doing, you're building up relationships with the landlord. And after the 3 years, then I have the option to buy that property, or I can give them the keys back. Now, because I always go in to say I'm going to buy it, because I do, that's my intention. So what happens is that in Cheltenham, the equity growth in property is pretty big. And what happens over the 3 years is that it goes up in value. So I remortgage it then, pay the guy off his original price of 200k, and then the property could be worth 240k. And when it's get revalued, it's valued at 240. So I use that money to basically buy the place. And I've just done one of them recently. So Simon Zuski taught me all about that, rent to rents, and just to be a little bit creative, introduced me to a world of brokers who are really good friends now, where the property world is really a small place. So estate agents, which I really know in Cheltenham, really good friends of mine now, brokers that I know really well, brokers that have the whole market, Granger. and they have the whole market, and they can basically, instead of just going to the bank where they want to sell their product, for example, I'm not going to use any high street bank, and they want to sell their product. So you're only going to get 3 options, whereas the brokers I have the whole market. So yeah, I'm a great believer of learning. I just love learning. In school, I was terrible, by the way. And when I say terrible, in Dublin, when I was at school, I got bored very easy because I felt the teachers that were only there to they got bored too. And some of these teachers have been there for 20 years. And then they gave me this book. And if I failed this book, they called me a failure. And I kind of saw through that. And I went, this is not how you do it. And if you think about all the great men in the world, Sir Alan Sugar, Mr. Ford even, these were terrible. All serial entrepreneurs. Richard Branson, he went to college, but he started the college magazine, and that's how he made his money. All these people were really good at school. They were just clever and very creative. So I try to be. I mean, an entrepreneur is the worst nightmare for anyone. Ask my staff; they'll tell you. And if you've read the ebook, I think the E-Myth Revisited, it's all about the entrepreneur, the manager, and the people that are running the show. Entrepreneur is terrible. He'll come in the next day, Granger, and go, no, I don't want that. I want it to change. So I feel sorry for the manager. But there you go. So that's Kiernan's properties.
And entrepreneurs, yes, as you say, we've always got lots of different ideas in our heads. We're always trying to do it, and we want to do it now, not yesterday, not in a week's time. Let's do it now.
No, exactly. And to me, I see them and the people that you surround yourself with is who you become. I'm a great believer in that. So if I want to be the best footballer, I surround myself with the best footballers. And if I wanted to be the best businessman, I had to surround myself with the best businessmen. And Nigel Butterall, I'll go back to him, EC. I remember being in Paris with him once. And Dragon's Den, he couldn't get on Dragon's Den because he hadn't got 25 million in the bank. And he said, I've only got 17. And I went, oh, fair enough, Nigel. It's your round now, my friend. But entrepreneurs if you surround yourself with the best people, that to me is very important. And if you learn off them, that's important. And everything's online now. So there's no reason why you can't be successful, to be fair.
And then your 4th business, developing.
Yes. My 4th business is HK Developers, Long Hope Limited. And I'm just about to embark on my first development, which is 2 houses and 3 two-bed apartments in Cheltenham. And I'm very excited about that. I'm also doing my latest business coach is a guy called Richie Clapson. He's from Property CEO. If you're interested in development of property, look this guy up. His name is Richie Clapson. Fantastic guy. I was with him for the last 2 days as well in Birmingham. And I kind of, after I was finished with Simon, I kind of went, I don't think I need any more coaches or stuff like that. But this guy kind of blew me away. When I was with Simon, I was Cheltenham and Gloucester pin host. So there's 55 around the UK. So I was the Cheltenham and Gloucester pin host. People used to come in and I would teach and stuff like that. And then I met this guy through Simon, Richie Clapson. And we soon realized that we were teaching the wrong way in development and in the development world. Richie's background is a structural engineer. He's done some of the biggest, designed some of the biggest things in buildings in the UK. And he's just a bit of a no BS guy. He's pretty straight. He cuts through the tape, and he's a bit like, I think he's a bit Irish, actually. He cuts through the tape, and there's no BS with him, right? And that's what I like. So I've been with him now. So I'm just about to do, I soon realize why people don't develop and why it's not for everyone, because there's so much red tape involved. But what I've learned regarding architects, structural engineers, builders, and so I'm the CEO of HK, and I have a team underneath me. I'm not the one that's hanging up the walls or digging up holes and stuff, but even ground report works. People would not realize, and they would not realize that when they see a building going up, it's probably taken a year or 2 years just to start that building. And I haven't got a lot of patience, but I do now. I suppose as you get older, you get a little bit more wiser. I think they call it experience, Granger. But but I'm waiting for people now to come back to me, which is hard for me to do because I'm not fully in control. But yes, well, I hope to start that in July or August, and I'm really excited. So that's a game changer for me. I'm really excited about that.
And why the change and the development into actual building rather than just the leasing buy type process?
Well, all so King's properties are all freeholds now. I mean, the good thing about all the rent-to-rents and delay completion are great for people starting off, and they give you an income. But asset-rich is no, they don't give you. You have no assets. Yeah. So in the end, so what I did is that I wanted both. Well, there's three things I want: is the asset, and I want the growth, and I want equity, and all that kind of stuff. So that is what some people buy. Go out and they like to buy golf clubs. I don't play golf. Some people like to buy handbags. I don't need a handbag. I like to buy houses, and that's the sort of thing I do. So I just felt it was the next move on.
Right.
And the thing about it is that I just didn't want to be asset wealthy. I wanted to be cash wealthy too. And there's a great kind of, I set myself goals. I always live in the present, and I learn from the past, and I plan for the future. And that's the way I kind of work. And I outsource everything, Granger. I have a VA, a virtual assistant for people that don't know, a VA in the Philippines. I've worked with Kim, her name is, and her husband for the last 3.5 years. And she spends more money than my wife, actually. But she controls the businesses that we have. She's a fantastic asset to my business. For example, the Farmer's Boy Inn, she would pay all the wages. She would tell me profit, a gross profit. She would also do all the menus, all social media, all that, because she outsources it in the Philippines. So I find the Farmer's Boy Inn now, it's a school of training. So I don't believe in training my staff on customers. I think that's wrong. And as a publican, I think that's wrong, or a hotelier, whatever you want to call me. So we train constantly here. And my idea is that not just to teach the staff that work for me, not just to teach them about the front of house, which is on the shop floor and stuff, but it's to teach them how to run their business, what cash flow, all these kind of things. And marketing is number one, by the way. And it's probably the worst thing that people, they get rid of. I find that's why builders, by the way, most builders, or plumbers, or painters, or anything like that, are good at what they do, as in painting, plumbing. But as in marketing, they never got into it for marketing. So, which is number one, because if they don't know who you are, and give them a reason to come to you, well, no one's going to come to you, except for word of mouth.
Yeah.
So marketing to me is number one, and that's where we are. Whereas most big companies, they will reduce the marketing first if things are starting to go pear-shaped, whereas it should be the opposite. So we try and build a culture, and also as well in the Farmer's Boy Inn, I give my manager, so we have different teams, and I would give them general manager, him or she, I would basically say I give them freedom to build their own culture. So I don't employ any of the staff unless I'm asked to, and I basically, what I do is that I try and I train them, but I train them as not just, I always say, this is only a job. It's just a job. And what we want to do is give them far more. And if they're not happy with the job, then just leave. If the alarm clock goes off 3 times, I always say go. And at the end of the day, it's just, to me, it's all about the education. And if you're going to go to a job and you like it, you might as well be educated and have some fun. And where else can you come to in hospitality? By the way, that's the word people kind of they lose. Yes. And it's one word. It's hospitality. And it's hospitality for a reason. It's hospitality for a reason. You can see actually back here, I'm just looking in here. These are all, by the way, pillars of marketing on my blackboard here. So, for example, a pillar of marketing is the website. That's one pillar of marketing. And most pubs have about 2 or 3. They have and the menu would be one and stuff like that. Well, we have about 20 pillars of marketing. So if one falls down, well, we have the other one. And I think that's what won us the award this year when we won Food Pub of the Year on the Foodie Pub of the Year in Gloucestershire. I think that's what they were impressed with. Impressed with this scale that we had and what we do. And when they come into the business, And if you came here, you would have no idea. And someone said to me about 3 or 4 years ago, God, this place is like McDonald's. And I shook his hand and I said, thank you very much. Now, I don't think he meant it that way, but Ray Kroc is a hero of mine, you know. And for that man, if you know what he did, by the way, Ray Kroc he was Mr. McDonald's, by the way. Yeah. Ray Kroc, basically, if he can do 40,000 restaurants, and I can't do one, well, there's a problem. And Ray Kroc spoke at Harvard once, and he went out to a great story. He went out, they asked him to go for a beer, the Harvard students, after he gave this speech. So Ray Kroc went to him, and they're all in having a beer, and the student says, Ray Kroc said to the students, what do I do for a living? And they all laughed. And they go, well, Ray, you sell burgers for a living. And Ray Kroc goes, I don't sell burgers for a living.
Nope.
And he says, I sell real estate for a living. And the model that the McDonald's, which people don't realize, is that they buy the real estate, they put someone in it, they teach them how to run their business, then they have to buy all their produce from Ray Kroc. He charges you rent in the building, and he owns the real estate. And it's a great business model. It's the perfect business model, which is called franchisee. And at the end of the day, if I hadn't got into property, that was the way I wanted to do my business. I wanted to buy another one, and I bought another one and franchise it out. And it was the Ray Kroc model. But I suppose, I don't know. I always, you probably heard this before, working on your business instead of in your business. Yeah. Well, I'm a great believer in that. And it was actually Nigel Bottrell that took me out of my business, because I always believed that the farmer's boy, I had to be there 7 days a week and all the rest of it. It was him that took me out to say, and Nigel to say to me, start working on your business, start working on the marketing, start working on your pillars of marketing, start getting your loyalty cards and whatever you have. Tracking numbers is a great one that we use as well. I don't know if you know what tracking numbers that is, but basically what we do is that every single thing, whether it's in the menu, Facebook, social media, whether it is a website, Christmas menu, anything like that, all have a different number on it. Same code, but they all have 471 101, 471 or 470 102, etc., etc. And we do a thing called call whispering. And what it means for the staff, it means that when someone rings the farmer's boy in, it whispers in their ear, and it might go Madabel Pies, or it might go Kieran's Properties, or it might go social media. And so they know exactly who's ringing, where they're ringing from, and if it's, for example, Kieran Properties is on there as well, well, they're not going to go Farmer's Boy in. They go Kieran Properties. Take a name, take a number. Yeah. So they're all pillars of marketing that we use, and that's the sort of thing I like to do now. Is when I interview someone now, and what we really find, we've been here for 23 years, September. I kind of find that people want to come and work for us now. And also when we market now, we don't have to go like that Granger anymore. We can go like that because we have the repeat custom. We have the data, and data, as you probably know, is very, very important. Without that data, we use CRM systems as well, customer relation management systems, where we send out campaigns to people. It's a bit like when you go into the shop and any shoe shop, any high street, and they ask you for your email so we can send you the receipt. Well, let me tell you guys, it's nothing to do with the receipt. They want your email, so they've got you. That's it, to add to the data. Yeah. And that's what we do here. So that's another pillar of marketing. But you have to learn all this, which was a pleasure, to be fair. So yeah, so that's my companies. That's all the companies that I own at the moment.
Fantastic. Wow, that's a brilliant introduction to all your businesses and why and what you do in them, etc. in terms of doing that. So a few things I'd just like to pick up on and explore a little bit more. I really valued your comment about you using the Farmer's Boy as a training ground for your people. You talked about training them in terms of business, train them in terms of marketing and understanding in terms of doing that. How do you do that? How do you do that as part of, their role is there to, be the hospitality front of the business and keep that running as well? So how do you merge those two elements together? Well,
there's a couple of things we do. We do hold monthly we have a thing called morning prayer, by the way, which happens every Monday.
Awesome.
And morning prayer is basically where we sit down with the management team, and we discussed this week, and what's happening over the next 3 months. So that's and we hold people accountable as well. And I always say, and this is a very good way to put it, is that everything is your fault. As in, when I say that to people, they go, wasn't my fault. And then I explain to them, everything is your fault. So if I get a TripAdvisor review and it's brilliant, and we're in the top 10 in the UK, top 10 in the world, by the way, the Farmer's Boy is in, which is a great achievement for us. If I get a 5-star review on TripAdvisor, that was the Farmer's Boy Inn team's fault. If something happens when we send a dish out, and also I think it's the Apple, I don't want to mention companies, but it's the Apple customer service, where if we have a problem and we believe it's our fault, and we do, and make mistakes, we hold our hands up and we ring that person. We don't email them. We ring that person. And I always say to the guys, it's a bit like the broken window scenario. I don't know if you ever heard of broken window scenario, but the broken window scenario is that we get in the business, we get the Farmer's Boy in, and all my staff know this. I share everything with them, but with even including numbers. But the broken window scenario is that we get 2. So if you walk past a building, for example, and it had a broken window in it, well, if you don't fix that broken window, the next day, what will happen is that the kids will come along next day and they're breaking another window, and they're breaking another one, and they're breaking another one. But if you fix that broken window, they leave it alone. They won't come back and break a window. So a broken window in the Farmer's Boy Inn or any business can be anything like, for example, a toilet seat. It could be not a good welcome. It could be not saying goodbye. It could be not bringing the drinks to the table. Because what will happen is that if I get more than 2, if they come in and don't get a good welcome, and then they sit down, what happens then is that, oh God, it's too hot. Oh God, it's too cold. Oh God, there's too many peas on that. Oh God, there's not enough gravy on that. There's nothing about that. It's psychological. It's a broken window. So we get 2. And that's how we teach the staff, so they can understand it. And like I said, everything is your fault. And when they understand everything is their fault, it's basically taking responsibility, and it cuts it out. I don't have to have people go, oh well, it wasn't me, it was Jim, or it was Brenda, or it was just, yeah, Phil, it was my fault. And then it just stops. It just basically, the energy. What we do is we put our energy into the business. So we kind of, with the training that we do, we kind of teach them that as well. And we also give people, when we train, because everyone has a job role, or it's a good question to ask your staff, what is your job role? And you'll be amazed, Granger, what comes back and what people think their job role is. So yeah. This is a journey. At the end of the day, we have ethos, is to give people a vacation feeling. That is the Farmer's Boy ethos. Okay. And when I ask them to write down what they do, you get some people, it's all part of the team. Oh, I wash dishes. No, you don't wash dishes. No, you don't. You're part of the team. You help keep this kitchen 5-star. That's what you do for me. You don't wash dishes. So that's what we kind of do. We have the morning prayer. We have the monthly thing. We also educate them about gluten-free, vegan, and stuff. Nothing worse than someone coming in and going, I don't know. If they're asking me about my because that's my fault. When they come in and say, is it vegan? Oh, I don't know. I'll have to go and ask the chef. So we try and teach them all that. And like I said, we don't get it always right. And sometimes we've had a couple of bad reviews come in this week. And so it's how we deal with them. So we've dealt with them now. Said, hands up, yeah, I made a mistake, and coming in. But that is very rare. That's very rare. So, there's an awful lot worse happening in the world today. It's a crazy world we live in. But if we can keep our standards up to the best we can, and that all comes from training, and that all comes from me, basically. And I take that responsibility very serious.
So how do you then sort of find the right type of people that will fit within your organization? I mean, you talked about you give your managers, total free hand in terms of doing that. But, how do you give them the advice to finding the right people?
If you know the answer to that question, Granger, can you let me know? Because Really, honest to God, the amount of people I've employed over 23 years, and I always say, and my chef laughs at me now, I go, he's a great guy. Oh, she's a great girl. And then within a week, I think what I try and look for in someone is attitude.
Yeah.
And if I can get the attitude, it means I can teach them everything. So the worst ones are the ones that have experience, because they keep telling you, well, we didn't do this in their place and we didn't do that in their place. I try and systemize everything in the building. So we have an open up, closing down. We have a service systemized as well, where we don't want 6 people going over saying, everything okay? Everything okay? Everything okay? So everyone knows their role. So, but that comes from the manager. That's his job. Okay, so I tell him, I teach him. But I do think if we have, it's the attitude. If they have the attitude and it's positive, we can teach them anything. You know, and if they have the attitude, it means that they want to be somewhere. And we ask them what they want to be, where they want to go, you know. And then we say, okay, well, we can help you. The amount of CVs I've got, Granger, in my time saying, and they give you this and they promise you this and promise you that, and you get half of it the first week, and after the second week, it's gone. And I said, well, I kept up my promises. I told you I would pay you this. I told you I would give you this. I told you I would give you this. So what's going on? And you just find that some people are not made for it. It is hospitality. That's the word I say to them. And that's the kind of, there's no simple answer really. But if I find that it's an attitude, like if it's an attitude, I kind of look for that in a person.
And I think that's the key one in all types of hire. It's finding the people that fit your aspirations for what the role will eventually deliver, not that they just say they can do it, because actually people grow, they learn, and building into that is key. And you use the word attitude. Yeah, you know, I use the words fitting to values and the principles that you want.
Values. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
And anybody can learn anything, because ultimately, even the most experienced, you know, people in any role have only got there through learning. They haven't got there. They weren't born into that skill. Yeah. Yet we seem to want people that only have a unique skill, rather than actually that these amazing people exist that can actually grow and learn to those roles.
I totally agree. I mean, I always say, if they can put men on the moon. So when someone says to me, oh, we can't do that, worst thing you do. And to me, no means try again.
Yeah. So
if he says to me, I can't do it, or no, I forbid my children say no, but and ask questions. I say to my staff, the W's, why, where, what, when. Ask questions, and if you disagree with me, challenge me. This is not like I tell you what to do. It's not like that. It's not like that anymore. It's not like when I was in Dublin and I went to Christian Brothers and they kind of bedded into me. It's not like that. And that's the sort of, so the sort of company that we try and, I mean, my chefs work for me for over 20 years. My first manager still works for me, and that's over 20 years. The one that cleans the rooms, Belle, she's been with me for about 13 years. So the core of the business is always there, and that's how I try and do it. It's a bit like managing a football team, the core of the business, and everything else comes around them. And the problem I have is that sometimes it's not my problem, because I don't really work on the shop floor. I don't work on the shop floor anymore. So what happens is that if that person's got to work twice as hard as that person, it affects the culture. So sometimes we have to kind of, and that's why I say it's only a job. If you don't want to be here, don't be here.
Yeah. So you've got 4 businesses going. Yeah, you're a fantastic learner in terms of taking on, in terms of what you're learning and everything else. So how do you keep things focused within the businesses you've got on the right things? What type of structures or methods do you use?
Outsource. I'm a great believer of outsourcing everything. So Kim plays a massive role in the Philippines with me. She outsources everything. Regarding the Kiernan's properties, the HMOs and all that, they're all managed. Don't try and manage them yourself, because then it becomes a job. And that's another thing people say to me when they're asking me advice. A lot of self-employed people, they don't work for themselves, unfortunately. They owned a job, and that is massive. And the reason why I got into this and what I learned pretty soon wasn't the financially, it was time, and it's time. Yes. And I got into work because I wanted the time to spend with whoever I wanted, to give back. And that's the reason why. It's not about the money. People go, I mean, we've built the businesses up, and it gives me the time. So if I outsource everything and pay an extra 5 or 10%, that is okay. So with the properties, they're all outsourced in Cheltenham. All right, wherever they are, they're all outsourced, as in people managing them. And then also with Farmers Boy Inn and Mad About Pies, that looks after itself. I financially manage them and I market them. That's my role in the Farmers Boy Inn. So I financially manage it and I market it. And that's what I do with that. And then with HK Developers, I'm the CEO of that, and I have my team underneath it. I outsource architects, my builders, project managers, anything like that, solicitors. I mean, my solicitor last night, I texted him last night about 20 to 8. So I said, I'll catch up in the morning. I'll give you an update. And he said, ring me now. And I rang him and I went, you're the only solicitor I know that will take a call at 8 or whatever it was, 20 to 8. He went, it's you, Phil. It's you, Phil. Also, as well, I'm a great believer in business is paying your bills first. Pay yourself first, Granger. Always pay yourself first. But paying the little guys as well. So if you're just sparky, the plumber or whatever, I'm a great believer in paying them, because that's why my solicitor says you can ring me at 20 to 8 at night time. And he's a one-man band. He's a property solicitor. No, he does property. That's what he does. Have the right people in your toolbox. My accountants as well, they're property accountants. And my bank manager is a really good mate of mine. He wasn't until he was my bank manager, but that was a really good mate of mine. And you don't need experts just keep everything tight. It's a small community. But pay yourself for it. I learned that as well. I used to pay myself last. But now I always pay myself first, because you'll soon find if anything happened, who's your friends and who's not your friends. So pay yourself first. That's what I say. And don't be afraid to ask for the money. I think that's an English thing. I'm an Irishman, so I'll ask for it. Or don't be afraid to put your prices up. If you're giving a good service and stuff like that, we have people saying, I can't put my prices up. What you'll find usually is that the people with me in my businesses is that the ones that moan a lot, they're the ones that are a pain in the butt. They're paying the less. So we have a thing called we'll sack them. So we sack the customer. And let's get rid and look after the people that really care about us. Stick a bottle of wine on their table. Invite them for dinner for free on the Farmers Boy Inn. Just do that. The loyalty card, we have a great loyalty card. It's all about points. You spend a few quid, but you get stuff with it. And I think...
And interesting that's also probably then why you've changed Mad About Pies in terms of how you moved away from supermarkets to actually people who want it and value it in terms of doing that, because you've got rid of those difficult clients.
100%. I ended up hating it. We had the factory. I was sitting in the factory going, oh, God, what am I doing here? Because I'm a people's person. I love people. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not the reason why we set up Mad About Pies.
Yeah.
This is not the reason why we set up Mad About Pies. And we had to make a decision. Well, it's the magic we, isn't it? I had to make a decision. I had to make a decision to say, this is not what I want to do. Well, no, this is not what let's go. So so that's what we did. And when I did it, the relief was just massive.
Brilliant. And you've talked about marketing a lot and how important it is, and totally agree. And I often say to some of my clients, you can't outsource marketing. You can outsource the doing of marketing, but the ownership of it, you can never outsource, in my opinion, in terms of that. And you've demonstrated that. So what marketing works for you? You've talked about 20 pillars. That's a really fascinating concept in terms of that. What works for you guys then?
Social media, even though I don't like it. I'm basically, social media is... Let's not go into social media, but it works for us as in a company. It works really well for us as in a company. But also campaigns, CRM systems, I don't want to bore them too much, but campaigns work really well for us. The loyalty card is a really good thing for us as well, because it's like in-house marketing. So repeat custom. We're at a stage now where people come back. We know that's the most powerful marketing to me, is people coming back year after year. We like that. Costs have got, it's really, it's getting harder to run these businesses. It definitely, so you have to give them a reason to come here. And that's what we try and do. We look at, and like I said, with the morning prayer we have on a Monday, basically what we do is that we check all these things, and then we would speak to Kim, and we'd, make sure that we're doing everything right. And then basically what we would do is that we would implement anything that we listen to the customers now, I think, as well, an awful lot more. It's pretty easy, we just listen to the customers. But also as well, I mean, things change. So never lose track of that. Don't just think because you're the farmer's boy in, things change. We put 2 carport charges in our car park only 6 weeks ago. I mean, crazy. They came in and leased the land out. I mean, 2 spaces they took up. And they can charge your car in 20 minutes, 1 hour, 100 miles in 20 minutes. Just things change. We built COVID pods out there when it was COVID. So you just, they closed the road 6 months on us.
Yes.
And we had no compensation. We had nothing at all. And Mr. Harper couldn't do anything for us even. And he's the Minister for Transport. And there you go. So, so things here test you all the time. So we're just trying to give people, like I said, that, a vacation, a holiday feeling when they come in, and have fun while we do it. That's what we try and do. Brilliant. So let's just look forward, in terms of the next 5 years. If we're to meet again in 5 years and look back over the last 5 years, what would have happened professionally and personally for you to class that as being a successful 5 years? I think the main focus for me is obviously regarding the Farmer's Boy Inn is keeping it where it is, and maybe with the B&B increasing that. That's what I'm trying to do at the moment. Getting small businesses involved in the Farmer's Boy Inn is nice. That's what I'm looking at now. A lot of people are working from home. Just to have that coffee and come out with a computer and sit down somewhere. We're offering that kind of service now. I think that's what we're going to try and do that. With the properties, Malibu Pies, that will just continue online, and we don't push it too much, and we have regulars, but that kind of is the sister company of the Farmer's Boy Inn, so it all kind of goes in hand. Kim's Properties, just grow one house a year, 2 houses a year, whatever, as long as there's good deals out there. And then with the development, that is where my focus is now. In 5 years, we want to be, so I'm starting one in June, July. Hopefully in September, we're looking at another one. So 5 developments in 5 years is what I'm looking to do. And then when I say 5 years, I usually kind of go 2 or 3 years, but I don't think you can look 5 years ahead in this current world we live in. I think it's crazy to look 5 years ahead. Very important as well, as long as my health is good. I think that's important because I can't do anything with my health. And as long as my enthusiasm and I got the mojo still there, I'm quite happy to carry on, because I think all entrepreneurs, they take this to the grave with them. They don't stop.
Yeah,
I can't see Richard Branson stopping or Charlie Sugar stopping pretty soon because they love what they do. So as long as I have that in me, I think that's where we are.
Well, Phil, what a fantastic conversation. I've got so many notes here. I don't even know where to start in terms of a summary, but, talking about the journey of your 4 businesses, where they came from, the passion that you have for your people and helping them grow and develop, finding the right people, of course, on that journey in terms of doing that. I've got your 20 pillars of marketing, just in case one falls down. What a fantastic thing. Tracking everything. That beautiful statement of everything is your fault. So actually, but both the positive and the negative. I just thought, because we say the word fault, you usually think we're being negative, but actually it was your fault that they had an amazing time. What a brilliant statement. Absolutely. And I love your example of the broken window analogy and how you can't have more than 2 in terms of doing that. And just your whole energy and ethos in terms of how you focus, you learn. And that's the biggest one, I think, for me, is just that passion for learning that you have has taken you from the next business to the next business in terms of growth and your own development. So it's been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for all of that. What we do is we finish off with a quick fire round at the end. So I've just got a few questions to ask you. Okay, so if you were to go back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
To surround yourself with the best people. That's what I suggest to anyone. And a young entrepreneur, anyone that wants to do well, is the 5 people that you surround yourself with is who you become. And that is what I believe. And persistence. And no doesn't mean no. No means try again. Brilliant.
Thank you. Which books would you recommend?
Yeah, I wrote down a couple that changed my life. I think the E-Myth Revisited. Mr. Brober, is that his name? I've seen him live as well. That would change my life. Rich Dad, Poor Dad for Property. That's a fantastic book, very easy to read. Think and Grow Rich, another great book. Tell me about 5 times. These are not books, but these are journals. And Think and Grow Rich told me about 5 times to kind of Napoleon Hill to get it, just to get it. And I think that's a fabulous book. Yeah, that's what I say. Yeah, and Nigel Borrow, read Nigel Borrow on marketing. He's read his book too.
Brilliant. Do you listen to any podcasts? If you do, what do you recommend?
I don't. I listen to a lot of audio. I listen to a lot of audio books, and mostly all property. I mostly bought a life out of my wife, and mostly. I go over the books as well. Actually, I'm listening to a really good book at the moment, and this has nothing to do with business, but I suppose it has. So I'm from Dublin, and you two are from Dublin. And Bono, Bono, the lead singer, they say, what's the difference between Bono and God? And the difference is that Bono was always right. And that's the difference. So Bono's he's a bit like that. And Bono's has brought this book out, typical Bono, and it's over 20 hours long. And he's reading it himself, it's taken me back because they came out in the 70s, and I was born in 1970, giving my age away, and so I'm really enjoying that. And his use of the English language, as an Irishman, Irish is my first language, and English is my second, and his use of the English language has amazed me. But that's the book I recommend at the moment. Audio book, by the way. That's what I recommend.
Brilliant. On your mobile phone, are there any apps that really give you any advantage, make a difference for you?
What we use, we have channel managers. So in different businesses, by the way, we have different systems that we use. So in the Farmers Boy Inn, we have a channel manager which does all the rooms for ourselves, and we have a thing called Telegram, is it, or something like that, which we use where people can contact us straight away, and we guarantee to contact you back within 60 seconds. That's the deal. And then also, marketing tools that we use, which you can get anything really. If I said some of them, they probably Nymphis we use as well, which is for the property. But yeah.
My favorite question of all, who's had the most influence on you as a business leader?
I don't think you can name one. I think my father started me. My father was a successful businessman. My dad was, and then from there, I didn't like losing. So if I wasn't a professional footballer, which I wanted to play for Manchester United, lots of people have just gone off me now. I was just very, all the business coaches I have. So Nigel Bottrell, Jim Sinclair, Simon Zurski, Richie Clapson have all influenced what I do. I've met some great businessmen. I'll sit down and I've met some of the old boys. Some of them are not here no more, bless them. And they come into the Farmers Boy Inn. And I think another one actually, which I love the guy, he's dead now, bless him, was Richard Reed. And Richard Reed is one of the biggest guys in transport in the Forest of Dean. And I had the pleasure to speak to him a couple of times at the Farmers Boy Inn. And what you learn off these people. It's just, think big. Isn't that what, I shouldn't say that because Donald Trump said that, but yeah, lots of people have influenced me. I still do, by the way. I still do.
Brilliant. So out of your pillar of 20, what's your most successful marketing tactic or lead gen?
Do you know what? I think there's oh God, what would it be? I think the loyalty card would be loyalty card, but there's different ways. So if you have a loyalty card, you have to market the loyalty card. So we would market that on our CRM system, which we push campaigns out, but we market also on Facebook. So they all lead into each. Well, TikTok is the biggest thing now in the world. So that's so we always have to keep an eye on what's happening. So we're good at changing things and keeping up. In fact, it's the kids that work here. Tell me, what are you using Facebook for, Phil? You should be on TikTok. So they get to share. They have an opinion here, and they're not just a number. They are real people, and they have massive. I just want to finish with this. So we come sometimes and they put their hands up at the staff meeting, and I go, guys, you're not in school. Don't put your hands up. Tell me how you feel. Tell me, and then so that causes a great, and they get such confidence. I've seen children come through the Farmers Boy for the last 20 plus years, and they've come in and they haven't said a word for 2 months, which is quite nice actually. And then when they leave, they've grown from children into young adults. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Oh, Phil, fantastic. Thank you so much. And finally, how can people get hold of you?
Farmers Boy Inn, they can do info at the Farmers Boy Inn, or they can go onto social, anywhere on the Farmers Boy Inn, you'll get hold of me, or they can put HK Developments as well. If there's a website for that, HK Developments, if they put that in there, they'll see that. So most people come through the Farmers Boy Inn. Info at thefarmersboyin.co.uk, or they go on the website. I have full access to everything. So when the messages come in, I can see them. And I'll just ring the pub and say, Phil, can I speak to Phil? But I don't speak to everyone, Granger, because I'm a bit busy man. So
I can tell. Well, Phil, thank you so much for this great conversation today. It has been awesome.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial ScaleUp System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.